got rhythm, I got music, I got my man who could ask for anything more. I got daisies in green pastures. I got my man who could ask for anything more. Oh, my trouble.
Cacao, yatta-da-da. Cacao.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode. This is our new season of Showgays.
We have been renewed for another season.
We've been renewed for another season. You can't believe they've extended our contracts.
They've extended our contract. The strike is over and we are back.
The strike is over. And because of that, we can get Leslie Karen on the pod today. Leslie, come out.
We didn't observe the strike at all. Were we like technically supposed to not talk about movies or something? Wasn't that part of the strike?
No, it was if you are a SAG member, you could not talk about your work. Luckily, none of us are eligible for
not in any way.
SAG-AFTRA. Well, it's a new season. It's a new year. It's a time of rebirth. Okay. We're in the holiday season. We're heading into the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say this is like necessarily a holiday film, but RJ, how are you in Phoenix celebrating Thanksgiving with your family?
I'm doing good. Still unclear as to what the Thanksgiving plans are since my mom and my dad are on a German river cruise.
And will they will still be in Germany for Thanksgiving?
I believe. My mom says that they're back on Saturday. My dad says they're back on Friday. I don't know who to trust, so I'm just going to wait until.
Okay, well, both of those are after Thanksgiving.
Both of those after Thanksgiving.
I can tell you that much right now. They're not going to be back for Thanksgiving.
They're not going to be here. So my brother and I will be on our own. I had planned to getting one of those like Thanksgiving meals at Costco where it's like a breast, some sides,
nice.
One and done. My brother's main priority this weekend is Black Friday shopping. Now, Black Friday sales are already open. We can already partake, but he loves the thrill. He loves going to Best Buy.
There's a je ne sais quoi. Yeah. Oh, that je ne sais quoi.
France.
Oui.
Okay. Oui. Baguette. Molly, how's Southern California?
I mean, it's beautiful and sunny here as always. And I am also just having Thanksgiving with my sibling, my sister. But I guess I'm a better person than RJ because I'm going to make Thanksgiving dinner. So sorry.
Okay. RJ.
You'll probably need to trim this.
RJ, this week we watched the 1951 Best Picture winner, An American in Paris, starring Gene Kelly and Leslie Caron. In a minute or less, I would love for you to summarize the plot of this film for me. And your time starts now.
Jerry Mulligan is an American in Paris who tries to make it as a painter, accompanied by his friend Adam, who aspires to be a concert pianist. Jerry is picked up by an heiress named Milo Roberts, who takes a liking to Jerry and his paintings. She buys his paintings and offers to sponsor Jerry to commission an exhibit of his work, which makes Jerry weary that she may be harboring feelings for more than just a supporter of his art. At a bar, Jerry falls in love with a French girl, Lisa, who he dances with. Jerry finds Lisa at the parfumerie she works at and starts to court her, but she refuses to meet him in crowded areas because she's actually with Adam's friend, French singer Henri. Henri proposes to Lisa at the same time Jerry wants to also confess his love to Lisa, who then reveals she is to be wed to Henri. Jerry rebounds to Milo, but cannot deny his feelings about Lisa, and he ends up confessing to her the night before her wedding, or where they run away to get married. As Henri and Lisa drive away, however, Jerry fantasizes what their love could have been in Paris before realizing that Henri has returned Lisa so she and Jerry can be together.
I hope that pause was worth it because you were 5 seconds over.
Ooh.
Oh, 5 seconds isn't that bad.
It's not, but that was a confident beginning. I got to tell you.
Very confident beginning for a plot that is pretty thin.
Can we talk about Leslie Caron's character's name? Because I think her name is Lise. Because that is how it is spelled.
Spelled, yeah, totally.
I believe it in French it would be Lise. But I believe in the film they say like Lisa.
The Americans in Paris.
The Americans call her Lisa because they cannot fathom the idea that someone could have a name that is in another language.
I think it's less of it's more like a Z sound, I think. Lisa.
Lisa.
What do you want to call her, girl? Just tell us.
I'm telling you, and you're talking over me.
Welcome to the podcast.
Season 3 is going great.
This is season 4.
Oh,
That's
4.
not. Oh, are we
Three
coming
with
back
Molly.
the run? Okay.
4, yeah. Or Sean.
I'm going to call her Lise, and you all can do whatever you want.
Great. I'm going to come up with a different L name every time I refer to her. RJ, I'd love for you to share with us what your history is, your relationship with An American in Paris.
I don't really have one outside of, I just knew that this was one of the greats, one of Gene's greats, and that it's like, a classic movie musical, American movie musical. That was pretty much it. I knew there was a musical adaptation of it on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was one of those things that I didn't know that the original was a music. I was like, I always just thought that like the musicals always come first.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, this came from a movie. So that's it.
Molly?
Nothing exciting.
So I had seen this before. This was in fact my birthday pick for the pod because
Happy
this is an episode
birthday.
that's, thank you. It's not the closest episode to my birthday, but the closest episode would be the Showgays, so it wouldn't really work for that. I had seen it once before, and I saw it what I think of as like later in life, in that I think it was like college or post-college that I watched it, because I remember watching it in a sense of being like, this is one of those things I feel like I should have seen to be a musical theater person, and I hadn't, rather than the things I watched as a kid that to me are like foundational. I watched this, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed it, obviously, when I watched it. And then I think maybe an even more important thing to note, though, is that when I was a freshman in high school, my high school did Crazy for You, which is another Gershwin mishmash musical. So it had I Got Rhythm and Embraceable You in it.
Mm-hmm.
So really, to me, like that is my origin point of loving Gershwin.
Mm-hmm.
And then American in Paris is like a different iteration of putting that music into a plot, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm like a little bit of a newcomer to American in Paris, but I'm like an old school Gershwin fan. Yeah.
Sure. So I had never seen this. I was very much like RJ, where I knew it was like a thing, but I just had never seen it. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's because on all the posters, he's wearing the like black and white. He's wearing that black and white outfit that he wears during the ballet. For some reason, I just assumed he was a sailor. I don't know why I thought this, but for years I was like, oh, Gene Kelly's a sailor and he goes to Paris.
I think I thought the same thing too.
Maybe there's another movie too where he is a sailor and you were like conflating the two.
Maybe.
Yeah.
My Gershwin background is mostly choir in high school. So we did there was like a medley. I've talked about medleys before, but we did like a Broadway medley, and it started with, it was like 100 years of Broadway, and it started with like Tin Pan Alley with Gershwin and Berlin and blah, 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 blah. Cole Porter. And so we sang Embraceable You, we sang I Got Rhythm, we sang It's Wonderful. I think there's another one, not one in this movie, but there's like a few other Gershwin songs that we sang during it.
Yeah.
So that's when I fell in love with Gershwin. And then also I have to shout out in Fantasia 2000, one of the pieces that they do is Rhapsody in Blue. And the animation is so beautiful and cool, and it's such a stunning piece of composition.
What's the like setting of the animation?
It's like it's 1920s New York, and everyone is blue. Like there's different shades of blue.
This is now jogging my memory. Yeah.
And it's just so visually stunning, but also that music is like I mean, it's a perfect piece of so Gershwin's great. I mean, we're really going out on a limb and saying things that have never been said before.
I think no one's ever said it. Yeah,
no one.
Think so.
Gershwin's so underappreciated, not a known composer. Yeah. Also, I realized that I said Embraceable You earlier, which was in fact in Crazy for You, but what I meant to say was Love Is Here to Stay. That I Got Rhythm and Our Love Is Here to Stay is the ones that are in both of these. Yeah.
I remember in our musical theater rep class, Embraceable You was part of the like Gershwin
segment.
That section.
Yeah.
Yes, the segment. And so it was like 5 girls that was like, embrace me, my sweet embraceable you.
We were just doing Claire Reinhardt's
Yeah,
arms.
so sad for all the listeners that we don't do this as a video podcast, because what a thing to miss.
What a bit to miss.
What a bit. Yeah.
So An American in Paris, it is based on like, what am I really saying? An American in Paris was a 1928 jazz influenced symphonic poem by George Gershwin. And you may be saying to yourself, the fuck is a symphonic poem?
Yeah.
I am saying that.
And to that, I would say it's like a mini concerto. And it's like really about the mood and the tone more than it is like about like symphonic prowess. It's really trying to establish like, it's trying to be poetry, but through music. Like it's literally that.
What is symphonic prowess?
It's a phrase I just came up with.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Off the top of the dome.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for using that as a essential comparison and understanding the definition of the word. It's
absolutely
crazy.
You're welcome.
Cool.
You're welcome. But if you'd like, I mean, I put this link in here. I can put it in the bio. I put this link in here of a recording of the An American in Paris, the composition of like a symphony playing it. And then I realized in further research that that's just what the ballet is set to. The ballet is set to the song An American in Paris. And I was like, oh, well, never mind. So I'll put it in the show notes. And if you want to hear it, there's a YouTube link right there for you. An American in Paris, this film, 1951, directed by Vincente Minnelli. It was written by the screenplay is written by Alan J. Lerner. We know him from Lerner and Lowe. It's produced by Arthur Freed. It stars Gene Kelly as Jerry Mulligan, Leslie Caron as Lise Bouvier, Oscar Levant as Adam Cook, Georges Guthrie as Henri Boel, and Nina Folk as Milo Roberts. The cinematography is by Alfred Gilks, and the ballet cinematographer was John Alton. They do distinguish those two. It is edited by Adrian Fazan. The music and lyrics are by George and Ira Gershwin. And the production company was MGM. It was released. It premiered in New York on October 4th, 1951. I'm sure it was probably one of those that had like it went to different towns before it went wide. Because it says it officially opened in the United States on January 11th, 1952. Running time is 113 minutes. Its budget was $2.7 million and it made $7 million in its initial run worldwide.
That I would guess is a success for the time. Do we know what the like proportion of spent versus earned would have been?
So yes, in the Wikipedia article, it said that MGM's profit was $1.3 million. So let me do a real quick, what's that called? Inflation calculator.
1951.
Yeah. I'm on US
52,
inflation.
52.
It's 52. If in 1952 I purchase an item for $1,300,000, then in 2023 it would be $15 million.
That, I mean, it's a lot of money to me as like a person, but I feel like is not. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like movie studios expect to make like $100 million back,
but
before it's
only
good.
because I don't know.
Yeah,
sure. Anyway, shout out to them. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
I looked up, the Wikipedia page has nothing about how this film got made. It's literally just like, here's the plot, here's the cast, here's cameos and random people that were in the cast that aren't credited, and then reception. So then I went to the IMDb trivia page and I learned nothing. I mean, like there's like 50 facts, but none of them are interesting. So here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you that this was shot on 44 MGM sound stages, which is crazy. And only 2 shots in this entire movie are filmed in Paris. I can tell you that Gene Kelly was a perfectionist nightmare to work with. So not really new information there.
Not really new.
This is Leslie Caron's first film. She was just like she was trying to be a professional ballerina in Paris, and they cast her as an unknown because apparently Sid Charisse was originally cast as this role, and then she got pregnant, so she couldn't do it.
Obviously, it's disgusting. How dare she?
Right, and we can't wait. This has to be made today. We can't wait a year
for a woman. No.
Yeah. So she didn't speak English, and she was actually still anemic from like the war because of how little she ate during the war.
Yikes.
So she had to shoot. She had a day of shooting and then she'd have a day off, and then she'd have a day of shooting and then she'd have a day off, which also really annoyed Gene Kelly apparently.
Sure.
Oscar Levant's role as Adam was written for him, as he was an actual pianist and friend of George Gershwin.
Wait, can we just pause for a second? I said sure about it annoying Gene Kelly, just to be clear, meaning that's consistent with his character as has been described. Not sure it's reasonable for you to be upset with her for needing a day off because she's anemic.
Yes.
Continue.
Yeah, Molly's saying, I will say it is annoying that a woman decides
people
when
taking
she wants
sick
to work.
days is disgusting to me.
It's
Absolutely
disgusting.
not.
In this post-COVID world, we should get rid of sick days.
Mm-hmm.
We should work through the illness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're not working overtime every day for your employer, you're letting capitalism down.
Yeah.
Right. And you can work from home. So like if you're recovering, if you're sick,
right.
Mr. Capital himself, the Monopoly man.
Also, every person's health is the same. And if I'm able to work a certain number of hours, you should also be able to. I expect every body and mind to function in exactly the same way.
We're in agreement on this.
Yes. Yeah. Thank God.
Other than that, I mean, I'll just shout out things as we talk that I sparked my memory, but like truly nothing was interesting. It just seems like one of these movies that was like MGM has to make a musical. Like this was we're in the studio system era. We have contracted players. We have to make so many movies. Gene Kelly apparently went to them and was like, listen, Red Shoes was a great dance movie. We should do one. And they were like, sure. And that's like how this movie came about. It was just like a wing and a prayer. There was no like, oh, I'm going to have this incredible, like, it seems like everything, like the script is just like the most bare bones thing in the world. But all of the decisions that make this movie, I think, great, I think after the fact, like while they were like designing the ballet, they were like, oh, we should base it on different like painters and stuff like that. So the only thing
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the only thing I will say is I will include this link. There's a woman on YouTube who I found who does. She was living in Paris when she shot this in 2016. She does a video explaining the different movements of the ballet, the different scenes, and which painters they are representative of. And I actually found this video very interesting. It's about 10 minutes long. It's not crazy. But I think it's very interesting because I definitely like recognized the Toulouse-Lautrec section. I was like, oh, I definitely recognize this. Yeah. But the other ones I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. And so it was very nice to have her kind of have the shot and then reference the different various paintings that are being referenced.
I was trying to find something like that because I really wanted to understand the art more. So I'm really excited that you found that and that now I can watch that after this episode.
Yeah.
So definitely put that in the show notes.
Yep.
I was going to say, I read something about the making of the dance sequence. I'm trying to find it again to make sure that I have the number right. I'm scanning it and I don't see it, but I believe that they made 300 costumes for the ballet sequence.
That doesn't surprise me. It is. I mean, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but I can't decide if I think this movie is great, but I don't know if it's like one of my favorites. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But this is undoubtedly, the ballet is one of the most incredible pieces of like visual storytelling I think I've ever seen put to film. It is so artistically coherent and expressive and thought out and paced. I just was like, I want the whole movie to be this 17-minute sequence. Yeah.
I will say, as a person who's not as inherent of a ballet lover as Adam is, in terms of putting it into a musical, watching it for the second time when I knew what to expect of, and then the last basically half hour of the movie is this ballet sequence. I mean, it's 17 minutes, but like, that's really like the third act just is a ballet. I think as a modern viewer, knowing that going in does a lot for you. Because watching it for the first time, I was like, when is this going to end? Like, because you're kind of left on like, not a cliffhanger. Like you kind of think that the love triangle has resolved and she's picked on Rain, right?
Yeah.
But you know that the movie's not over. So you're like waiting for like, and then something else is going to happen, right? It's a resolution. And so you kind of feel almost interrupted, I think, as like a modern viewer and expecting a certain pacing from things. So I do think that if you go into it thinking of it as like the third act of the film, it's just this ballet and you just have to like let it wash over you. It's a way better experience then.
I will say, finally seeing this movie, I already liked the end ballet from La La Land, but this made me be like, wow, he really It was such like a loving tribute to this movie,
Yeah.
that end ballet sequence.
And such a clear, plot-driven ballet.
Yes, well, also that.
Accomplishing something much
Yeah.
more concrete. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. RJ, because we always watch our movies together, so we do get a little peek ahead of time as to what the other thinks about the film. I am most curious what you thought of this movie.
Me specifically? Why?
You just
Because
explained
Molly, we know Molly liked it. She picked it.
I picked it. And he just said usually he gets to go into episodes knowing already how you feel about it. And this time he doesn't. And so he's more inherently curious because
Thank
he
you,
didn't
Molly.
get the payoff of being with you to watch the movie.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think he misses me.
Oh,
Molly, what was your experience watching this film?
I had a great time. I
Great.
really
I'm so
enjoyed it.
happy. RJ, you gonna tell us what you thought about this movie or not?
Yeah. No, I had a good time. There was a moment in the first part that I was like, there's a lot of talking and not a lot of singing. So I was like, that's funny. But then I was kind of like putting myself in the mind frame. I was like, well, it's not like we've said like, movies are more like movie musicals are more effective if there's like a I don't know, number per like a ratio that you need to hit, right?
Yeah.
So it was interesting when we finally got to like the third act, you said, and it was like basically just all like a one dance piece that I was like, oh, okay, I kind of understand. Like they're using those first two acts to really like drive home the plot, like really keep the plot moving in order to like tell that at the end.
Yeah.
Which is like, I thought was really interesting to kind of like let the moments in between to like expand and extrapolate on it by using like ballet or like, I mean, even honestly, like the concert, like the piano concert segment of like that scene is just to describe his dreams, like how, what he wants to do. And like, it was very cool to like spend all that time to just like show how passionate he is about that. So
there's a way in which the film's kind of expressionist almost, right? And that he spends much time in people's sort of internal realities. Yeah.
Which I do think is very much like what you think about, obviously, why people go to Paris. Like it feels like it's the place where you want to go to like let your dream, like live out your dreams. And like there's that romanticism like that you have about like your relationship with what you want to pursue with like your passions, especially for like artistic passions. So I thought it did a really good job of that. And it like my favorite part about it is like even just the small relationships that we do get, right? Like Jerry is very well loved in like his little like neighborhood. Like they all get a kick out of him. And like he's like, it's not like he's like an abrasive American in Paris, but like he's done enough work to like still be like himself and like makes it work that like people still kind of like see him as like very lovable.
Right. He's very clearly like the American, like everybody identifies him that way, but he is still part of the community there. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say RJ pointed out Gene Kelly's kind of like energy in this film. And it reminded me that Molly texted the group and said, wait, I want to read it verbatim. One moment. Molly yesterday said, we are going to play a game this episode called Guess How Old These Actors Are, so don't look it up. So Molly, would you like to start your game?
We certainly can. I would like to put a pin in like the opening and music and stuff, but let's pause on that and let's talk about actually I think what I want to do, RJ, because Adam then did reveal to us also over text that he in researching the movie accidentally stumbled upon some ages. So I think I'm really just gonna ask RJ these questions. And I think RJ, I'm interested in less so like how old do you think the actors are based on just looking at their faces? And of course the actor faces are going to influence your interpretation of the character. Totally. But watching this film, if we think about the four major players in the love square that we're experiencing, right? Which would be Jerry, our American painter, Lise, the young French girl, Henri, the man that Lise is engaged to, And then Milo, the
Milo,
heiress that
yes.
Jerry also that likes Jerry.
The blonde.
The blonde. Tell
the second
me,
blonde. The second blonde with Gene Kelly, who's supposed to be like the not good one.
Yeah. I want to know, RJ, what was your impression of what were the approximate ages of those four characters?
Okay, I'll start with Henri and Lise because they were giving me South Pacific vibes, and there's like alluded to the fact that like she like took care of, he took care of her.
Yes.
So it seemed very much like now that she is of age. There's another story that's like that, right? Or it's like now that she's of age,
Twilight.
then like.
I'm not wrong.
Damn. Yes, like now that she is of age, like her sponsor basically is like, well, great, now I can marry you.
Because the setup for listeners who maybe haven't seen the movie or not in a while is that Henri hosted Lise and her family during the occupation of Paris, when Nazis occupied Paris. And so Lise was they're saying like a girl. It wasn't enough time, but like she was a teenager. Yeah. When she stayed with Henri, and then he says, and then after she left and things calmed down or whatever, and then we saw each other again, and then I fell in love with her now that she has gotten older.
Yes, I think she's like, because they were like, oh, she's still a girl, and he says something like, no, she's like an adult now or something like that, like she's 19. So I had that kind of reference, which makes me think that if he was old enough and like successful enough to like host his family or her family, maybe he's like 40s. That's my take. Okay. Jerry, because he like stayed during the war, like after the war, he didn't go back to America. He stayed in Paris. So I'm going to say he's probably supposed to be like a mid-20s guy.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then Milo also feels like in her 40s, like Henri. Mm-hmm. I would say they are like, what's that word? Not peers, but like they are
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Contemporaries.
Contemporaries. That's the word you want, yes. Okay, yes. I mean, I certainly, when I first watched this movie, felt like part of the implied plot is that Lisa's quite young and that Henri is much older, and that part of why she's drawn to Jerry is that they're much closer in age, and that it's sort of are you gonna go with the guy that's kind of your peer and you are both passionate and that kind of thing? Are you going to go with the more established older guy that's less exciting? And also that Jerry's sponsor, right, is like an older woman, and that's part of his hesitation and kind of getting with her. Yeah, that's the dynamic that's at play in this film. I now like to tell the listeners about how old these actors actually are. And I'm going to be using I looked up their birth years and then 1951, which is the release date. So probably everyone was a little bit younger than this because they were filming it, right? I didn't do the math of like the exact time that they were filming in the month and whatever, right? But this is the approximate age. So Leslie Caron was 20 years old when this film was released. So when they say in the movie she's 19, that's probably about exactly how old she was at the time of filming. So very much like just an adult, just barely. Okay. Gene Kelly.
And anemic.
Gene Kelly meant to be, actually, no, I'm actually going to start with this. Henri, actor who plays him, 36. So that's a pretty big age gap, but not quite 40. 36 is fairly close to our age, so mid 30s. Cool. Gene Kelly meant to be the younger, vivacious, the man that is
full of energy,
close in age, young love. He was 39 years old.
I want to say this. No, Gene Kelly is so hot in this movie. It's actually criminally insane.
Absolutely. They didn't even have Botox. I don't understand how. This is a full Paul Rudd situation. I don't know what is going on. Congrats to Gene Kelly and your genetics and nutrition and whatever, like amazing. I'm not saying this as a critique of the movie necessarily. It's just hilarious to know the reality of the ages. Yes. But they really play up on Henri like introduces himself by being like, well, I know I'm not as young as I used to be. And then you see a young man in the mirror and he's like, oh, that's not me. And then it like cuts to him and he's
that's right.
Like they really are like, they're setting him up as like this man.
I'm not that grandfather.
He is a distinguished middle-aged gentleman, and he's full 3 years younger than Gene Kelly.
I remembered having that reaction when he was like, "Oh, that can't be me. That's too young." And then he shows up. And I'm like, you also still look like that. Like it's not like you made me think like you were going to be like in your 50s. Like,
they added gray to his hair to make him look older. than
Oh,
Gene.
really? I mean, also like very attractive. Let me say that. Silver Fox, absolutely.
There's only one Uggo in this movie.
What a setup. Okay, well, we're going to be excited to find out who Adam feels is the Uggo.
Yeah.
Obviously, Oscar Levant.
Can I also confess, the last 2 times we've recorded, Adam, you've been on the Zoom from Chicago and RJ's been in Phoenix. And because your Zoom still says RJ Silva, there have been several times in both recordings where I've gotten anxious for a second that I have your names wrong. Like, I think, I'm like, wait, is that RJ? What?
Have I been wrong all this time?
I've known you for like 15 years. And still I'm like, maybe Zoom's right and I'm wrong. Okay. And then lastly, Mina Folk, I think is how you say her name, who plays Milo. Let's review one more time. Leslie
This
Caron,
one I don't know.
20? Leslie Caron is 20. The older man she's with, Henri, is 36. The young man she's with, Gene Kelly, is 39. And the heiress who is making Gene Kelly uncomfortable with her wily sexual advances.
She's got to be like 24.
27.
Oh my god!
My God, what an old hag.
She's more than 10 years younger than him. She's younger enough than him that if these two were dating now, we would be a little bit uncomfortable with it in terms of the age.
Gen Z would be like, he's a pedophile because she's 10 years younger than him.
It's hilarious to me the work that they do to make this woman seem like she is
absolutely
a matron.
I will say yes, there is part of that, but I also she feels like a very distinguished character. She has an air about her that is very like older and wiser than her years would let on, for sure.
Yeah.
But they play it up.
But it's also so reflective of like casting at the time that like they probably did want her to be in her 40s in the story of the film, but they were like, but we can't put a woman in her
actually
40s
put a 40-year-old woman on
because
the camera.
They have to cast. They have to kiss at one point in this movie.
Right.
We can't watch a old grandmother kissing people.
Shrivel
my
up.
God.
Might as well just get
raisin.
like the cafe owner's wife who was like,
It's funny because it reminds me of Barbara's memoir just came out. Her like 1,000. I'm not kidding. I think it's 1,000-page memoir. So is that even a memoir? It's like it's a tome. So she talks in it. She has a section about Hello Dolly and how she was like, I told him that I was too young and that they should just get Carol Channing because she was so good on Broadway. And they were like, anyone's husband can die at any age. It has nothing to do with how old Dolly Levi is.
And it is, other than Dear Evan Hansen, the worst age casting we've ever seen on this pod. So yeah.
The opposite
I'm
way.
curious if we'll have more this season because that could be a future award.
That could be. Yeah. We might have to come up with some categories that are cross season almost with some of these observations we've made. Yeah.
That's true. That's true because we're reconnecting patterns that didn't come up before but are now appearing.
Right.
It's very funny that we are watching this movie. Are we done with the age?
Yes.
Any other gags?
I mean, Levant, who plays the pianist, is 45, but that's not. I think that's appropriate.
He looks it. He breathes
he sounds
it.
He sounds it. He smokes it. Yeah. The funny thing about this season of Showgays, and I'm just going to give a little tease of the season, is that we're watching this movie. This is our first movie of the year. This is Leslie Caron's first film. She is the titular star of Gigi. She is Gigi. Yes, 7 years from now, she and Vincent are going to get back together. They're going to round the old world back up, and they're going to make Gigi. So
wow, that's exciting that we'll be able to compare those two performances. Cool. So I now want to return to what RJ said about it taking a little while to get to the music of this movie. And I want to talk about the sort of whiplash that I feel a little bit with the setup of this movie and then how it actually gets going. So I absolutely love how this film starts. where we are introduced to this an artist neighborhood of Paris. So it's kind of lovely, but it's clearly not, economically privileged either. We've got this cute little cafe that's below these artist apartments. And Gene Kelly's apartment it's phenomenal what they do with this. He has this tiny, tiny space. Mm-hmm. His bed, it starts with him in bed. We hear a knock on the door. He opens it by about 3 inches at his headboard and takes a letter from someone. And you understand how cramped this space is. Mm-hmm. He gets out of bed. He lifts it up into the ceiling. He's drawing out the sink for him to wash. You can tell this man lives in 10 square feet, basically, which is, it's a micro apartment. And apologies to New York that it turns out that people live in small spaces in other cities. I know that's very upsetting for you to learn about because you thought that it was the only place that happened.
New York is the only city in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you instantly fall in love with this beautiful idea of living this artist lifestyle in Paris, right? Of it's so contained. It's so just the bare minimum. And yet it looks so beautiful and so friendly. And you want to live there so badly. Right. So in terms of a setup of a mise en scène, a feeling of a place unparalleled. Right. So I started this movie and I'm in love.
Can I also say that scene when he's getting all the stuff out, he's pulling the thing and everything has a way that it fits all together. His way he moves in that set is so lived in that I was you've practiced this so much that it looks like you live there. I was this isn't your first time doing this on this set. It was crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's such a reflection of the way that a dancer understands how to move through a space too. He really knew how to establish it. And he probably did it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And then we go down to the cafe and Adam has a conversation with Henri and then Gene Kelly joins. And then the first song in this is by Strauss, which is a song about how they're making fun of Henri for liking a waltz. And they're talking about German people. And it's not a great song. It's just not a song that I would have thought, someone would picked out of the Gershwin catalog and said, well, we simply must find a spot for this. And it should, in fact, open the musical. It's so strong that it should be the first musical number in this whole thing. But also, it's 1951. How is everyone feeling about Germans when this was released?
Yes, I did think about this too, because I was I obviously knew they shot this on a soundstage. It's very clear. And it's one of the things I like about this movie.
Yeah.
But I was immediately I started watching the movie and then I was what year is
does
this
it take place in?
Take place? That's fine. Oh. What year did this movie come out? And then I was wow, we had 6 years before World War II ended. And it's not like Paris didn't have things happen to it. Buildings had been bombed.
They referenced the occupation in the plot of this.
Yes. And so I was wow, that's so wild. But yes, during the song, I was oh, okay. I mean, sure, just good time. We won.
Just a lighthearted beginning of. I mean, yeah, maybe that was the vibe. Was everyone was we beat them, so this is great. I don't know. I don't understand. It feels like we would not take an equivalent country or realistically ethnic group that we had fought against recently as the United States and make it the plot of the first number of a fun time musical.
There are two of these actors in this main cast of 5 are French. And I will say this, there is not a single character in this film that feels French. And I don't mean to speak disparagingly of the Parisienne, but there is a certain view I think they have of the world that I don't think really is exhibited in this film.
Yeah.
This film feels very an American in Paris and their view of how it's an American's version of Paris is what this movie is.
It's a bit of an Epcot fine. Paris. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it's Epcot. Yeah.
There was a bit of I was is he in South Pacific, the guy who played Emile? Is he not actually French? There were moments where I was is that an Italian accent or a Spanish accent? Yeah.
So
but I don't know if it's because.
But he studied he lived in Paris for years.
But that's there. I was just like, if there's, it doesn't feel as. But maybe it is that attitude. He was just like, I feel like you're too happy and excited, and I feel like Parisians are more like,
Yes.
C'est bon,
Yes,
c'est bon,
that-
whatever.
Yeah. That's terrible. Yeah, there's that energy that is not in this film. Even the like lady who he keeps running by on the stairs when he runs down the stairs, and I like all those enactors are so funny, or those encounters, I should say. She's so jolly that I was like,
I know.
that's just
not this jolly.
Jolly
She's
is
scrubbing
not
stairs.
a
She's
descriptor.
scrubbing stairs. Like she is not. She could care.
And she's like,
less
oh,
about.
like everyone is so tickled that they start singing that I was like, these French children absolutely would not. I know. I've seen the red balloon. I understand. We live in a fantasy world, but like, no. Great movie.
Oh my God.
It's a great movie, yeah.
Did we listen to a little bit of By Strauss?
Sure, why not?
Why the hell not?
When I want a melody lilting through the house, then I want a melody by Strauss. It laughs, it sings, la 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 la. Let the Danube flow along and the Fledermaus keep the wine and give me song. By Strauss, by Joe, by Jing, by Strauss is the thing.
It's just a funny concept of a song because it literally is like, look how funny these German words sounds, right? Like that was.
I'm like, was this the song I feel like was written before the war and then it was used here? That's my guess.
Yeah.
I would assume so because I think Gershwin died in 1937.
Oh, okay. So it has to have been. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like, what I guess the only thing I can think of is that it was like the best they could find to feature all three male leads.
Yeah.
And they felt like they had to start it off with that. But I find, honestly, the whole like dynamic between Henri and Jerry and what's the name of the pianist?
Adam.
And Adam to be like the most boring part of the movie. I'm not interested in their friendship.
Yeah. Well, that was
Adam is like a completely
useless
useless character.
It felt like it was going to be built that way, right? Like the first scene is like these voiceovers of them, like, and here's me. You're probably wondering who I am.
The worst exposition writing I think I've ever read in my life.
Is this like a buddy comedy of like, look at how crazy these guys, just bachelors living in Paris. And
well, and also like
you guys
it's
are not
weird.
Friends.
It doesn't really make sense because Adam so Jerry starts and he's like, I'm an American, and
I'm an American in Paris.
It's almost like so American, the accent. He's like, I'm just a guy who lives here in Paris. And I will say I obviously looked up reviews of this film, and a lot of them are like original reviews from 1951. And one of them, the writer spelled Perry as Paree.
Paree.
And I was like, what are we doing? It's very funny. And then you go to Adam, and Adam has his introduction next. And his whole thing is like, I don't have a friend in the world except for one guy named Henri. And then he hangs out the rest of the movie with Jerry. And I was like, you have another friend. He's your next door neighbor. He lives across the hall from you. What are you talking about?
There's a deep feud, though, between them that we never really get into. I mean, let me say, none of the characters are fleshed out, right? Like not a single one of these people is a real person in any way. But at least Henri and Adam have an objective, which is Lise. But like they have a thing that they're going for. So
I mean, Henri and Jerry.
What did I say?
Adam.
Sorry. Yes. Henri and Jerry are both falling in love with Lise. And so they have like a thing that they're striving for, even though they don't have a
And Molly has finally said it. Women are just a thing.
And women are
Molly,
just a thing.
Yeah. Molly has officially agreed.
Adam, though, I mean, because we were going to go kind of character by character.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I want out of this character, but it's certainly not this. Like, I don't know what I would do to make this character into a real person for me, because they do try, like, he has a relationship with Henri. He talks about it. He supports Jerry. We have the whole concerto of seeing into his head about what it's like to compose things. Like, they try to give him things that he is doing and relationships that exist for him in the world. Yeah. But I cannot see Adam as an actual character in this movie. And I don't know.
Yeah.
And I want to know from both of you, like, can you think of something we could give Adam to do or to care about that would make him into a real character?
He doesn't even have anything that he does in the movie that interacts with the main plot. He gets talked at, but he doesn't ever make a decision in which, like, oh, the truth. I thought that scene when they're both like this wonderful scene where they're both like, oh, they're both talking about Lise, but they don't know they're both talking about Lise.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to spill the beans.
Right.
And that was going to be the impetus.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't, because he shouldn't, because he knows. But I was like, then what is he doing in this movie?
Yeah.
I guess that maybe they thought that the moment that he does that is when he has the line to Milo where he says, oh my God, now I can't remember exactly what the back and forth is, but he says something about how Jerry's sponsor has more nerve than she has, or more cash than she has sense or something like that.
Nerve or something.
More nerve than she has cat. I don't remember what it is. And then, which was like, I don't know. It was also a line that I was like, that wasn't the best dig you could have made. But then the thing that is brilliant about it is that she's like, by the way, you should know I'm his sponsor. And he goes, I know, which is, that's great that he like was insulting her to her face and was aware of it. But like, it's not a big enough reveal that it doesn't change the plot that he does that. It's like, it's a cute moment, but what it should have been, I think, if we wanted to use that character as he's the one that spills the beans somehow, it would have to be that he says like, oh, my friend Jerry is a fool because he invited his sponsor here tonight, even though he's in love with this other woman. Like he should have revealed that part of it.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't do that. And I do think that you can have a best friend character whose job is to like hear the inner thoughts of the characters processing relationships, right? That's like a fun thing that exists. But yeah, it's almost like he doesn't like give enough advice or have enough perspective on anything that anyone shares with him. Everyone's just like, here's how I feel. And he's like, that's interesting. I'm going to get some coffee now. Like he doesn't have any perspective on any of the stuff.
It feels like
he just needed to be gay, obviously. Yeah.
He needed to be like a little bit more flamboyant, because I also was confused. Like he wasn't getting gigs, right? Or like he wasn't playing.
He's like a permanent student, basically.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because he keeps getting
an artist that's always on
fellowships.
fellowships. I think he's not a student, but he's just is on artist fellowship. So he's an artist who's always like promising, but he never quite like produces an actually significant thing, which I think again is an interesting setup. Yeah. So I don't know if there could have been more with that, or I think he needed to have a relationship that he was in or was referencing.
He could have got with Milo at the end because she likes artists in general.
Oh, that would have been really a fun little twist. Or I was thinking like it would be cool if he either like had a character like if he was one of those characters he's always talking about love and being in love in a way that seems very wise, but then it turns out that he's like in love with the woman who's the wife of the guy who runs the cafe, or something where like the love that he has is like completely unattainable, and so he's never been in like an actual relationship. That's always a fun idea. Or like he had a great love that then she died or something, and then he was like giving actually really sage advice about relationships. That could have also been. I have so many ideas of what they could have done.
I mean, it's weird too because he doesn't like. You could make that his storyline is he finally does the concerto of his dreams.
Sure,
but the movie's not really about that either, because we never really see Jerry get to do like get to.
It was never really about his paintings. No,
it's not really about art. Like it's not, it's literally just a movie that's like completely crafted to make these two people end up together, which is fine. I mean, that's still so many movies today. It's not a commentary on anything. And I think there is an interesting fact I found out that when this movie won Best Picture, which I didn't even read, I can't believe I just completely forgot of all the Academy Award stuff, but this movie won Best Picture. And then in Variety, I think the day after the Academy Awards, MGM put out an ad of like the lion, Larry, I think his name's Larry the Lion from MGM. He was like looking sheepish because they did not expect to win this award, because I think like they were like, this was just supposed to be a movie that made us some money. Like it wasn't even supposed to be anything, because this movie beat A Streetcar Named Desire for the Academy Award. One of the greatest like 20th century plays and films. Yeah. Like it's crazy. And this movie is technically like the technical categories, the craftsmanship imbued in this film. I mean, like the painting alone, just from the sets and like recreating those Parisian streets, and they really feel lived in and beautiful. Like
they do.
It's such a visual masterpiece.
Yes, the visuals.
This has to be one of the weakest scripts that we have had.
For sure.
And it's just, I mean, there's so nothing to this. And it's fine because it just gets you from point A to point B. Because all of even like, yes, there aren't a ton of musical numbers in this, but like anytime that Gene Kelly's dancing, I'm like, I need 9 straight hours of this fed into my veins because it's pure serotonin. That dancing, what's the song? What is it? I Got Rhythm. Mm-hmm. With the kids, where he's tap dancing for the kids. I was like grinning. My smile was stretched all the way from ear to ear across my face because I was like, this is so cute. These kids are having so much fun. He's so good at this.
And do you know what it should have been? The opening number of the musical.
Was this your overall point that you're trying to get to?
This is my overall point that I was trying to get to. So fun, so great, so about being an American in Paris and teaching the children the English words would have been such a stronger way to open. Mm-hmm. I totally agree too that like your point about like it's aesthetically about art because it's so beautiful and the way that they use paintings in the ballet is amazing, but it is not in substance. It does not have anything to say or any perspective on art at all. Because that would have been the other cool thing that I just thought about with Adam. Yes. It could have also been that Adam experiencing all of the turmoil of Henri and Jerry through them telling him about it inspires his concerto, right? Like that could have been the thing. Yeah. But that would require them to have something to say about art, and they don't.
Well, I was scared. I thought that was where the Milo Jerry situation was going to go too, because I was like, oh, he's not enjoying this because he's like being commissioned to do it, right? Yeah. And maybe it was like, well, I thought I came here because I wanted to paint, and now that I'm being paid to paint, like, is it not the same anymore for me? And like, is this really what I want to do? And I was like, oh, that could be interesting.
I for a second in the scene at the party where Milo sees Lise and she's like, why do I know her? I had forgotten that there was the scene where Jerry sees Lise for the first time and falls in love with her. He's with Milo. And so she remembers, oh, she's the girl from the bar. But I thought for a second, because we even see a little moment of Jerry sketching her, that I thought she was going to say, oh, she's the girl in that painting of yours. Wouldn't that be interesting too, if he had painted her and it was like his masterwork or something, and then Milo realized his feelings for her because of an art piece that he produced with her as the subject. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? So many things they could have done if they had made them real characters and had a real plot. Yes.
It doesn't care. I mean, it does not care about that in any way. It's just trying to make a studio musical movie.
It is. And I think though,
there's a follies number.
I think that it's partially infuriating, the lack of character and plot, because it is so beautiful that you so want there to be something even just a little more substance that could make you convince yourself it's like a really worthwhile movie. You know, like the gap is so broad, and I would forgive so much in terms of plot and character. But then also the love story itself. I mean, I famously do not care for the original West Side Story because I do not care for Tony and Maria, and I don't root for them. But I think that I care for more than any of the 3 people in this main love triangle. I don't want them to be together really in any substantial way. It's not that I want them to be apart. I just like don't care about it.
I think they have wonderful physical chemistry together. I think they have zero romantic chemistry together.
Interesting. Wait, tell me more about what that means for you in terms of being in a movie.
Like, I think for like when they dance together, they are it's like perfect. Like I want nothing more than to watch the two of them do their like ballet together. It's incredible.
The fountain sequence in the ballet. Oh,
the Place de la Concorde. Yes, but like their scenes, I was like, I don't believe that either of you love each other. I mean,
no.
I think it's hard too because he is a 39-year-old trying to do like that young kind of puppy love of just falling madly in love with someone off the get-go, and their age difference is so clear that it's like I don't want to be 2023 about it. Okay. I don't.
We hate this year and everything about it. Yeah.
But the like way that he is just like, he grabs her and takes her to the dance floor and like won't let her go.
It's so
and,
gross.
like,
It's so gross.
and like goes to her like job.
Her job to
like,
further her. He calls her. She says, "Please do not come here." He comes there, and then he makes one joke that she likes, and then she says, "Okay, you can take me out." And I want to be clear, like
this is like, a man wrote this film.
We are primed to complain. I am primed to complain. I will speak for myself. I'm primed to complain about the depictions of relations between men and women in old movies and misogyny, right? Like, I will always point out these things, but I have to emphasize to you, listener, if you haven't seen this movie, it's not like, ooh, there's like that one moment that's like a little too much and we wouldn't do it now.
It's
but
half
like
the movie.
we get, but like, no, I need you to understand like the whole way that he gets her to have any interest in him is so incredibly, it's just harassment. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like the first 3 interactions they have is her being like, I can't be clear with you that I'm not interested. Please let me go. Give me physical space. You are invading my life. And he's like, but you're so wonderful and so gorgeous. Like I can't in any way empathize with why she would ever change her mind about this guy.
It is. I felt it. And I do notice when it's like a thing, but usually I'm able to like kind of just ignore it or whatever. Cause like, what are you going to do? But
what are you going to do? Yeah.
This, I was like, the way she has said no, like the literal word no so many times, I was like, this is why men are the way they just think, because they've been reinforced by media for decades and generations
that they can like, get it, that they have a,
if you beat the woman down long enough, she'll get it. And it's like, but you're not Gene Kelly. You're Mitch with 3 teeth up the road. No one wants to say yes to you. Stop. Anyway.
I wouldn't even given if it was Gene Kelly. Now, I mean, if it's Gene Kelly, I probably would be a little less no from the beginning. But
you
like,
wouldn't say yes, from the
even
beginning.
if you were as handsome as Gene Kelly,
sure.
If you came on to me this way, I would simply not. I mean, because it tells me, even if we go out and it turns out, okay, we have some chemistry, it tells me that you're a person who doesn't respect other people's boundaries. So that's not a person I would be in a relationship with. Like, it's just so clearly, it's a lot of the boundary pushing to start it off.
It's also weird because, again, these characters aren't fully fleshed out or anyway. Their objectives are just like so wishy-washy. He goes so hard for her at the beginning of this movie to the point that it's like harassment. And then when she's like, I have to go, he's like, okay. And then just like gives up and leaves. And I was like, you've set this up as a completely different character from the one that is now on display. And I understand that it's supposed to be like, he's heartbroken, blah, blah, blah. But like, what? Can we listen to a little bit of I Got Rhythm? It's weird even playing these songs on here because they're so about the dance sequences. So it's like, whatever, just watch the movie. But here's a little bit of I Got Rhythm.
I got
Rhythm,
I got
music,
I got
my gal who could ask for anything more.
I got
Daisy
I got
in green pastures,
I got
my gal who could ask for anything more. Old man trouble, I don't mind him. You won't find him round my door. Vous comprenez ça?
no. I got
Rhythm,
I got
music,
I got
my gal who could ask for anything more. Who could ask for anything more?
Who could ask for anything more? Who could ask for anything more?
I like when the kids sing back.
Yeah. I got. Okay, we have to go back to the love triangle though. Thank you for interrupting us to finally play the song that we were supposed to play minutes ago. But while we're talking about what is the romance and how does it happen, etc. This really should be subtitled as An American in Paris, a story of how men project on women, because the beginning of us learning about Lise is Henri giving this sort of sequence to Adam, right? Where and it's a fun visual bit. Yet again, the movie is visually amazing, where he's describing her and he's like, oh, but he keeps saying things about her. And then Adam kind of gives like a negative assumption with like saying, oh, she's young. And so then Adam will say like, oh, so she doesn't know a lot or something. And then Henri will say, no, she reads so many books. And so each time that Henri says another positive thing about her, we cut to her in a different Singing in the Rain style outfit and set of here she is being young and carefree, and then here she is as a dancer having the best night out in the town, and then she's at a library showing that she reads so much.
Yeah,
and blah,
she
blah,
also
blah, blah,
reads,
right?
And then her leg is fully out.
And then her leg is in the air. Obviously, that's the one that we all remember because it's amazing. So it's like a fun idea of here's Henri describing her as having all of the facets that anyone could ever want in their dream woman, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we start with the character of Lise. Then we see her respond to the advances of various men for 45 minutes. And then we get the ballet sequence of what Gene Kelly imagines his life will be like if she were to come back and be with him, also told through dance. Mm-hmm. So at no point do we ever hear from Lise about what she wants or thinks about literally anything. Mm-hmm. It is a story that begins with one man's perceptions of the things that she is and ends with another man's fantasy of what it would be like to be with her romantically. And we never get her perspective on it in any way. Mm-hmm. And I think that is, again, emphasizing that I will see these things, but like it is remarkable the degree to which it is a story about their fantasies about her. Mm-hmm. It's really a lot. I mean, can you tell me anything about Lise as a character that isn't from Henri or Jerry's interpretation of her?
No. I know that at one point there's a shot where they're in a cab and Jerry gets out of the cab and Lise has longer hair, and then it cuts to another shot of her and she's gotten a haircut. And I was like, oh, this had to be later when they shot this. Yeah.
But
that's about all of what I can tell you about.
She has friends who are an older married couple that are the people that she goes to the bar with, and that's the only thing I've got a question about. Really, is who?
And they know her phone number off the top of their head.
They do, yeah. They don't know how to help a girl out when she tries to give her phone number.
She's an attentive girl in the perfume shop. Okay, she's giving recommendations. She's listening to her customers, so she's.
But not good enough recommendations. Jerry is really
I like the perfume
but a man
scene.
still had to be like, well, let me tell you why a man needs to
He
smell
instantly
you.
does her job better than she does. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the perfume shop scene. It reminded me of She Loves Me. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the perfume shop scene on its own. It's just in conjunction with everything else. Yeah.
I mean, the movie as a whole is not interested in who Lisa is because she's just she's that
just
like
a girl.
It's the exact same thing with South Pacific, where it's just like what was her name?
Liat?
Liat? Was it Liat?
Yeah.
Just Liat is just the Polynesian beauty.
Right.
There you go.
And what he loves about her is that she's young. And that is very much, it's less textual, but it's very much the clear subtext of this movie is that both Henri and Jerry love her primarily because she's young.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's ever valuable about a woman.
I think the only thing I will say in Henri's defense, let me defend a man real quick, is I do think he knows who she is. Whereas I think Jerry does have a line in this movie where he's like, I don't even know anything about her, but I love her. And I was like, okay. And I get that I'm 31. And so I just hear these things and I'm like, okay, but okay. That's how I felt. Okay.
Well, and okay. So he doesn't know anything about her, including, as it turns out, that she's engaged, which also brings me to it's the one thing maybe we do know about Lise, but it's a question that I have, which is she cheats on her boyfriend. I have this question of, at the time, what did it mean to be pre-engagement with someone? Do you know what I mean? Like, if I had a friend now who was close to being engaged to somebody, and then she said yes to going out with another man, I would say that person was maybe not a cheater, because cheating specifically has like connotations of physical intimacy, and like different couples have different boundaries around, right? But like, you're certainly being flippant with your relationship. It seems disrespectful to your partner to go on a date, and probably you're cheating on them, right?
I just want to remind everybody that Molly did choose this film for us to watch.
Because it's beautiful. I'll watch a movie about a woman maybe cheating any day over a carousel.
Absolutely.
Or an imaginary dragon. Not imaginary. He's real.
No, I wouldn't watch Pete's Dragon ever again for any reason. Anyway, like I feel like
she's a cheater.
The movie is, but I feel like the movie is kind of the stance of like until she is actually engaged and maybe even actually married, she is free to accept dates with other men. It doesn't feel like the movie is judging Lise for exploring a relationship with Jerry. That's my interpretation. And so I'm wondering if because people got engaged much quicker, it used to be the case that it was like, until you're engaged, you're not really like in a relationship in the way that now we have like a much longer period of being like in a relationship where there are expectations, but before you're engaged. What do you all think?
I don't know. I mean, okay. She does not seem like she is like in a committed relationship with Henri in any way. There's like one scene where they're like hanging out at home or something like that.
They're like having dinner in his apartment.
Having dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
And it feels I guess I was like very slow on the uptake about what the hell was happening in this movie because I was like,
you were so distracted by how beautiful the set was.
First of all, that's true. And I also didn't know, I will say this, the first time when they had that like sequence where he explains like who she is and all the ways she's different than what Adam is suggesting. I was like, is that the main girl from the poster? I was like, wait, or is this just a girl? I was like, who is this? Anyway, I was being very dumb last night while I was watching this movie. They do not seem like they have a deep romantic love. And it also, and I don't know when engagement rings started. When did that become a thing? Because she's not wearing a ring.
I don't know.
It's pointed out in the film.
Well, he doesn't propose to her until right before Wonderful.
So later, yeah.
Oh,
so they're not engaged at that point. Yeah.
So that's why I felt like it was I didn't feel, because I was like, oh, she's being courted by both of them. But it wasn't until really that proposal when she was like, ooh.
But then she does get in the cab with Jerry to go somewhere. Remember, to get in the cab, she says, I have an hour. Then Jerry stops at the cafe. I'm guessing, sees Henri, and then she drives off in the cab. And then that's when Henri shows up and says, or it's like I got engaged. Cafe that yeah, like earlier today or yesterday or something like that. So at that point, she is engaged and is still seeing Jerry.
Yes. For that scene. And then that night is when she breaks things off at the Sen.
Right.
Because that's when she leaves the note in the car she left a damn note that said, meet me at our spot.
Yeah.
A little spot.
I feel like the movie is basically saying she's good to accept Jerry's initial date. And then she gets onto morally rocky ground once she's engaged. And then that's why she has to end it. But like, ultimately, she didn't really do anything wrong because she does end it within like 24 hours of the engagement, it seems like. It's just bizarre, obviously, to live in a world where like people don't get engaged out of the phase where you're dating multiple people.
I think the only thing that this movie is like, this is morally bankrupt, or maybe not bankrupt, but like not great, is the Milo's patronage of Jerry. It is the one thing where the fact that like Adam has to like scold her and teach her a lesson about herself at the end. And then I was like,
that's just a gig.
But it's
Jerry?
weird because you could also just do that same thing with like Henri and Lise. Like you could have the movie also be like, it's really not great that this guy who basically like groomed her.
Yeah.
And let's say that. Okay. Like, and then like fell in love with the girl that he like helped raise through. He Woody Allened her. Okay. Let's say that.
Yeah.
And it's not great, but the movie doesn't have, it's just like, oh, isn't it so nice that he fell in love with her too? Because she's so winsome and young.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely want to dive into the Jerry Milo relationship, but RJ is also giving a thoughtful look that I want to pause and see if he wants to say something more about Henri and Lise before we get into Milo.
No, I'm thinking about Milo. So
okay, we're all thinking about Milo. That's all we're ever thinking about.
She's the woman in our mind.
She's the woman of our dreams.
Honestly, if if I was an American in Paris after the war and this rich, beautiful, gorgeous woman was like, I will pay you
She's so
to just
pretty.
paint.
I thought for sure that you were going to say if I had to be with a woman, and it
if
makes
I
sense.
was forced to be with a woman.
Gun to my head, I guess I'd choose Milo.
I guess I'd pick a rich one. Okay. So yeah, Milo asked Jerry, she like buys his paintings and then she's like, hey, come to this party tonight that I'm going to throw. There's gonna be an extra girl. And then he shows up that evening and she's like, haha, it's just you and me. But I told you there's an extra girl. He is so insulted by this.
Offended.
He picks up his paintings and walks out and says, there are men in Paris that do this, for a living, and I'm not one of them. To the extent that I was like, was this truly like a common enough situation with this gender dynamic that he was like so instantaneous? Because I could understand if it was a young woman and an older man, like that, then she would be really insulted by this and assume that he was assuming certain things about their relationship, right? But like, it surprises me that in 1951, it was common enough to happen in the reverse, that he's so instantaneously offended by her asking him to this party. And like, fair enough. Like it's also messed up. It's messed up for someone of any gender to like pressure somebody because of their status and wealth to be in a relationship, obviously. But it's like a little weird. And then he agrees to stay. And she says something about how the restaurant downstairs has great food. And then she says, would it embarrass you if I signed the bill? And he says, yes. And they go to a different restaurant because of that. And I watched this scene and just sat for a while and thought about how infuriating it would be to be a woman with money in the 1950s, where your way of moving through the world is so limited by men's fragile egos that you couldn't even just have dinner at the place you wanted to go to because it would embarrass the man that you were taking to have dinner with you. Like, could you imagine just being like, well, I'll only ever be able to go to the places that a man who wants to be around me will agree to pay for, because it's just not okay for me to just pay for it so I could go enjoy myself doing the things that I would like to do with my own money.
I'm sorry. I can't believe that these are the conversations we're having about an American in Paris. I did not think when I got on the Zoom today, it was that this is where we were going to go.
You thought I was going to be like, it was beautiful and I love it. And I mean, I do love it.
Yeah, I thought we were going to talk. I don't know. I thought we were going to talk about any of the musical aspects of this.
No,
it's
about
it's
unfair. It's unfair for Milo.
With feminism.
An obsession with feminism.
Oh my God. Here's what I will say. Speaking of musical things in Milo, where's Milo's song? Why doesn't Milo get to sing in this movie?
Thank you. She's got that beautiful, like almost
contralto
like voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's got to be a torch song or something. I guess I would make her too sympathetic to give her music.
But she would sound great singing one of Gershwin's like songs. My God. By the piano or something.
Ooh.
A real B. Arthur.
Yes.
Well, what if they gave her a song in the bar and she was singing next to the piano, and then while she was singing that song was when Jerry was noticing Lise, and it was like the betrayal of her that he.
I'm curious what the stage adaptation did, because I know they added more songs and stuff, and I'm sure they gave her a song in the musical version. I think this conversation around Milo and my Venus de, which is a very funny joke in this movie. So that scene at the restaurant happens, and then they go somewhere else, and then later in the movie they go. Him and Lise go to meet at a cafe, and Lise is the one who's like, "Oh, I can't eat here," and then they leave because like a man is like looking at them. That was weird.
Okay, this is again gets to my question of cheating, because I was like, is she worried that someone will see her and tell Henri that she went on this date? That's what I thought maybe it was.
I couldn't. It is not clear enough.
Yeah.
There are two things that confuse me about this movie. That, and then the scene where he's walking to Montmartre to go paint. or to go sell his paintings. And he walks by an old man.
The older painter. What is happening?
I cannot wait to tell you.
It's a cameo.
It is not a cameo, but it's supposed to be. That man is supposed to be Winston Churchill.
What?
So apparently, Winston Churchill was a painter. I don't know if you knew this.
I think I did because I think it's in The Crown.
He gets painted in The Crown. I mean, I can't remember if it was in The Crown.
Is there a scene in The Crown where he's like burning paintings on his lawn? Maybe that's from some other piece of media.
There's definitely he burns a painting of him because he doesn't like that he looks so old.
Oh, okay.
But I think they do reference that
he was so good.
John Lithgow was so good in that role.
So
it was crazy. He apparently was a painter. I don't know. I didn't know this. I found this out on Wikipedia today. He has an entire Wikipedia page that's just Winston Churchill and his paintings. That's the title of the Wikipedia page. I don't have any information that he was in Montmartre just painting post-war because he was the leader of the opposition party. I'm going to give you all this information. But that is apparently that's why he has that look where he's like, oh, was that? And I thought it was like, what's on the painting? What is he painting?
That's what I thought too. Is that whoever whose painting was
he's
surprising.
shocked because it's Winston Churchill. And I was like, how would anyone get that? You don't want to play a little bit of like God Save the Queen or anything to just give us a little hint? He's wearing a little pin. Anything? No? Okay.
Yeah. That's what I thought too. That
at least I can answer one question of this movie.
It was like a painting that caught his attention or something, and then
yes, I thought it was like I don't know nudes. I don't know something.
Yeah.
Anything.
I thought about that too. I was like, maybe that's because I rewound it, being like, oh, I must have missed the shot where they show you what's on the canvas.
What's on the canvas?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
So yeah, Milo. It's weird because if we made this movie today, there'd be a lot of changes. One of them being,
wait for my closer. Yeah.
One of them being, I think Milo is like it's the role that the gay men want to like watch. It's So she would have more to like, I think just do in general. And I think now it wouldn't be as like, oh my God, can you believe she's trying to like make this man, she's like trying to be his producer, basically. I think this movie would be less weird about it today than it is for the time. But it's also weird that it is so weird about it. But it's also a woman being like kind of sexually free and expressive, which we know. So I don't know. I like the actress a lot. I thought she was very good in this role.
I thought she did a great job. I think that she is obviously unfairly maligned as a character. I feel like, I mean, we do know because somebody makes a comment about the fact that she like has this pattern of like picking up artists and whatever. Like, obviously he's kind of right about her intentions, but she also doesn't seem like she's pressuring him to be in a relationship with her either, unless he just feels a pressure because of the money factor. But like, it seems to me like she would be okay being his patron and not ever having a relationship with him. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving her too much benefit of the doubt, but it feels like she would probably lose interest in him pretty quickly if he didn't ever express any sort of romantic interest, but not like she's like being like physically creepy in any way.
Well, this is the problem with this. The problem with this Oscar-winning film is Best Picture is that there's so much like that this movie, as a movie that is about dance, a medium purely expressed through visuals. Yeah. There is so much of the plot that is just said and not shown.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh, well, it feels this way. Or like he doesn't even say it feels like you're pressuring me. He just like jumps to the end conclusion. And then we're like, oh, okay, that just must be what it is. It's just like leaving the audience not breadcrumbs, but like full pieces of cake and just being like, here, eat your slop, piggy, on the way to the ballet.
Yeah. It like makes me wonder what would be an appropriate patron relationship, unless the movie's just their stance is like all patrons are trying to sleep with the artist that they're patronizing. Like what? Because if it was like an older man, it feels like then there would be an implication of like, oh, but is he gay? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you would ever have a patron that like it wasn't inappropriate in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, it's
like,
weird because
if it
isn't
was,
it also the plot of Breakfast at Tiffany's? Isn't he a kept
that's okay.
artist?
So that's what I was gonna say. Like, it reminded me of that like muddy. I had to look up actually when Breakfast at Tiffany's came out because I wasn't sure if like it just felt like that same dynamic, like same relationship. Because I had read something
in that is a kept man. I haven't seen that movie in a while.
It's a little bit more obvious in Breakfast at Tiffany's that he's kind of like an escort for her,
but not for Holly Golightly, for another woman.
No,
okay,
they're like Golightly, he just likes her.
Okay,
yeah, but that's what it reminded me. Like, and then I don't even know if it was Letterboxd or just like IMDb comments, but maybe it was Letterboxd. Someone was like comparing that they're two people in like kept situations. And like their relationship together is kind of like that respite of like, we can make something like this is ours. But I was like,
gotcha.
I don't know. It doesn't feel even, obviously.
I mean, look, she does trick him into coming to the to dinner or whatever.
Party,
it's underhanded by pretending that it's a party. Like, it could be cute if you actually like each other, but obviously he doesn't feel that way. And
then she blows up on him at the car.
Yeah. And she's insulted by him looking at another woman while they're out together. So yes. It is. There is certainly an implication of you will be loyal to me in a way that a romantic partner would be, even if not necessarily like we have to like be physically in a couple together in some way.
Yeah.
So it is. It's kind of predatory for sure.
Yeah, I think she's an evil witch. I think we're all saying the same thing.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, we've beat around the bush long enough. Should we talk about Jerry and Lise?
I feel like we already have. What do we want to say about them?
I like the Seine. I like their scenes next to the Seine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, again, I don't super feel like they're romantically chemistried well.
Yeah.
But I just like those scenes because they're, I think, probably the best written scenes in the whole movie, to be honest. Besides the coffee and the cigarette bit, because I did think that was really funny. That bit was so funny. I actually laughed out loud. Yeah, it's just hard because it's so weird even talking about the plot of this movie because you can see it coming a mile away. Like it's there's no surprise in the movie.
I mean, when I first watched it, I'm not sure that I knew that Lise was going to come back after the ballet.
That is okay, so we should talk about the ending.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the ballet after this, but we'll talk about the ending now. The ending, okay, the ballet ends and there is 1 minute of film left. I paused the ballet as soon as it was over because I wanted to timestamp and see how long the ballet actually was. And when I paused it and I saw that the cursor, the scroll bar was all the way almost at the end, I was like, what are we even talking about right now? So then I was like, and before I pressed play, I was like, oh my God, the end is just, he doesn't get her. It really is like La La Land.
Yeah.
And then it's not. The car just comes back and she gets out of the car and Henri gives up or whatever. He's just so
Henri gives up with a huge smile on his face. Let me point out.
They're so jolly, Molly. That's the
they're
thing
so
about
happy.
this.
They love. They just are so happy.
It's the
they
city of
love.
So Henri, in the world of Henri, because he doesn't see the ballet, he is on the balcony of a party. He overhears his fiance having a tearful goodbye with her lover, basically. He realizes, oh my God, she's in love with this other man. She doesn't actually want to marry me. He then walks her down to a car. She is so clearly staring up at this balcony. I mean, not trying in any way to hide it. That she's getting in the car, but she's locked eyes with Jerry the entire time. Henri is so clearly avoiding looking up at the balcony. He's like, you're looking over there and I'm going to do everything I can to not meet the direction of your gaze. I am going to pretend it's not happening. He gets in the car. Something happens in that car where he brings her back and he glares. Not glares. He, what's the word I want? He looks lovingly up at the balcony. He smiles at Jerry to say, look at this. I brought her back to. What was the conversation? I don't want to give up the ballet in any way, but like, I need to know. I need to have a scene of those two in the car to know how he did this turn on a dime.
The witchery that she recited.
The witchery.
The witchery.
There's a lot of witches in this movie for sure. I think that's one thing we're realizing as we discuss.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It makes no sense. And I kind of was like, oh, okay. And I think this and another, again, like in 2023, you have this scene where they walk off together, and then you have like two more endings where you get like she gets a job, or she wins the perfume store, or something happens to her.
She wins the perfume store.
The concerto
In a
officially
contest.
happens, and they go see the concerto, and then he has his art exhibit, and Milo's okay, and something else. But like it just like then ends. They just like the movie ends, and I was like, oh, okay. And
Do
I
you know
think
what? Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think the ballet is incredible, and I cannot wait to discuss it.
Yeah.
But like this ending, I was like, everything except for the ballet, just like it is so just like, and then we just hit the beats. You gotta hit the beats. It's fine.
I will say, speaking of the visual language of the film, the one thing I love about them walking off together being the end is that it is like just after sunrise, it looks like, in terms of the lighting of this moment. And there's something kind of beautiful about that, because it's like kind of the least romantic time of day to be like very early morning.
The most romantic time of day is night. Sorry. It's a okay, I'm just gonna do it. You can keep talking.
Oh, I was gonna joke that I should change my closer to what's the most romantic time of day. But like, there's something about the idea of being with the person you love in like the early hours of the morning that's very like practical, and like seeing them for who they are almost, which Gene Kelly has not shown us in any way he's capable of doing throughout the rest of the film. But like, to me, it's like, it's very hopeful, right? Of like, it's sunrise, it's the beginning of a new era or whatever. But it's also sort of like, I love you even in this moment of, it's not sunset, it's not midnight, it's not like these times that we think of as like getting swept up in the moment. I love you in like the early morning hours when we're tired and neither of us is at our best. And like, I don't know, there was something sort of a shorthand of something beautiful that was happening there. Okay, I'm going to pause for Adam's video presentation.
Okay, this is an instant coffee company. I believe it's instant coffee from the 80s. It's called High Point Coffee, and it's decaffeinated. And Lauren Bacall was their spokesperson. And
a real Milo.
A real Milo, if there ever was one. So she has a great line in this, and I was just talking about it last week, and it's great.
Okay.
My favorite time of day is night. I love curling up with a rich cup of coffee. You think coffee and sleep don't mix? They do if it's High Point. It's decaffeinated, and the flavor's marvelous. You see, High Point has a special way of capturing flavor, deep brewed flavor. It's a coffee lover's dream.
Deep brewed High Point, now with our richest aroma.
Oh, Catherine O'Hara saw this before she filmed the fruit wine.
It's decaffeinated.
It's decaffeinated.
It's
that is Moira Rose doing a coffee commercial. That's amazing.
Her finger. It's so good. My favorite time of day is night.
Can you put that in the chat so I can save it for myself?
Yes.
Just for life. Just for any circumstance.
You never know.
You never know.
Up, you know.
Okay, you can go back to whatever the hell we were talking about.
Oh, I was talking about how romantic it is. How romantic in the non-romanticness of the early morning hours.
Waking up.
It's not.
Yes,
it's not
the
a
best
romantic
part
time
of
of
waking
day.
up.
I'm trying to say something sincere. Stop with your coffee jokes. It is romantic in that it is not a romantic time of day, and it to me implies that they have maybe some substance to their relationship because they love each other even at 5 a.m, which is not a romantic time.
They've seen all the way to the dawn, and they're about to break into a new day together as one. They've unified. Yeah, it's pretty. It's cool. It's I don't know if I could ever be up this late, to be honest. And it's impressive that at 39, Gene Kelly could do it.
He could do it, and he did it many times with his perfectionist tendencies, I'm sure. Yeah.
There is something, RJ, did you We've all been to Paris. Sacré-Cœur sits at the like top of the hill, kind of over there, Montmartre. There was a shot of this movie. Okay, wait. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask you. When they're on the balcony,
yes,
are they at the Moulin Rouge? Because there is a windmill spoke in the background off the building that they're standing at.
I didn't think about it, but maybe.
And I was like, how many buildings have wind? Like, isn't that kind of
Isn't
the
that
only
the one thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that the
I was
thing?
kind of assuming they're in Montmartre because like the Eiffel Tower is quite far away. They're like up on a hill.
Right,
like all
yeah.
of those things kind of indicate that.
And the
he
whole
does
movie is
say
kind
it's
of
a
taking place
big,
there.
yeah. And he says it's like this big artist party. So it seems possible.
The party,
The party.
the black and white.
Girl,
Party, the black
I
and
think
white party.
this is what I wanted to reference with the cross-season awards. That I think black and white costume party should be a category for an upcoming Showgays because we could do Phantom and this. And honestly, a black and white costume party is my favorite kind of scene in a movie.
When the scene started, I was like, oh, what a bold choice to do a black and white party. That's so interesting. Like I'm surprised that this movie took it in that direction because they have the reference right before they go to the party that they were like, isn't it a costume party? And he's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So then we get there and I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. Like I didn't expect that from this film, blah, blah, blah. And then the way that it is purposefully juxtaposed with the like vibrant colors of the ballet right after, I was like, that decision alone deserved the Oscar. It was like, that is so, how would you not set it up that way? You strip all the color away while they're not happy anymore. Mm-hmm. And then you bring the color back when he has his dream. And then like the dawn breaking with starting the colors of the day is like how he leaves with, come on. It's so
Wizard of
good.
Oz.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great choice. The scene is so full of energy.
This
feel
bitch
like
keeps jumping.
She just keeps jumping. She has a fetish for jumping from balconies.
And it's the same. I thought it was the same shot. And then I was like, oh no, it's the same.
No,
it's
she
just keeps.
That's her thing.
You know that everyone goes to parties with Cordelia and they're like, do you think she's going to jump off a balcony again? You know she's going. She thinks it's so funny and so cute. We get it, Cordelia. You're like so tiny and like meant to catch you jumping off a balcony, but like we don't have to every time. No, I'm saying like we're sick of Cordelia's shit at this point. Like I think if you knew this woman and you'd be like,
she goes again.
If you jump off a balcony tonight again, I'm not going out with you.
I'm not taking you home.
Yeah, I'm not taking you home. You can get
yourself an Uber.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I feel like as we've entered our 30s, it is hard now for you to show me a party scene where I still think, God, I'd love to be there. But I do feel that way about this party.
The only negative thought I had about this party was I bet it smells because they're all artists.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's wearing like aluminum free deodorant in there. And I was like, vey, it's not working. Your native deodorant isn't working, girl. That's how I felt about it. But other than that, the costumes were incredible. I couldn't. Mm-hmm. Everyone looked so good. It looked so fun.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like a New Year's party, even though I don't think it was. It just like had the energy of a New Year's party. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is great. This is what needed to be happening. It did feel a little like this is the only point in the movie where I was like, was the war that he was just talking about, was that the First World War? Because this felt very 20s.
Oh,
in its frivolity. So in that respect, that was like the only time that I was like, wait, what year is it actually? But no, it was great. I loved the party. Party was great.
Yeah, it was great. Shoot, I had another thought. It doesn't matter.
I do like that by casting. I'm so sorry. What was his name?
Gene Kelly.
Oscar Levant.
Yeah.
As Adam, is that he's actually playing in all these scenes. He's actually playing.
Oh yeah, because he's a real pianist. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is so nice to like, because I was trying to catch it at first, and the first time he's playing in the movie, I was like, are we miming? Is that what's happening? And then I was like, oh no, it's really going on.
Yeah.
So that was exciting because he's playing in the scene at the party. Okay, I want to talk about this fucking ballet.
Let's do it.
So I just want to list for you, the viewer, the listener, the painters that are being referenced in this ballet are Dufy, Renoir, Utreau, Rousseau, Van Gogh, and Toulouse-Lautrec. And like I said earlier, the Toulouse-Lautrec one, they're basically exact copies of his works because he did so many like nightclub kind of energy, and that's the scene that they set his sequence in. So there is one specific painting that's actually in the Chicago Institute, the Art Institute, and it's this woman who has like a yellow, like a green face, And she's so iconic. I love her. And then
Yeah.
she's in the scene.
Yeah.
She's like
Like
in
a
the front. And I was like,
yeah.
listen,
The
slay.
way that they costumed the background actors,
Everyone,
to
all of them. Oh,
it's amazing. It's like a level of detail I almost feel like just doesn't exist in films anymore.
So this girl, you have to go watch this video that I linked, because the carnival sequence when they're outside and all the girls are in those like pinstripe colorful dresses is a reference to, I think it was Rousseau, one of Rousseau's paintings of the painting is called The Gypsy. I understand whatever, but that's what the painting's called. And in it, she's wearing that exact like dress, but then they just kind of made it more of like the style of the time. Like they had the puffy sleeves. It's like a 1-for-1 copy from the painting to the movie. And I was like, I not even knowing, I could feel it watching this, that I was like, there's references here that I know that I'm missing, that I know you can feel how like well researched it is. And then to like get all that additional information, I was like, oh God, this is so satisfying. It's like so, and again, I've said it so many times. I don't think I've said it on this podcast, but it's so enjoyable watching people who are just at the best at their craft get able to do like their best goddamn work. And it's like, this is why art exists, is to do stuff like this and just tickle your brain in that perfect way.
It's, oh my God, it's so good. Everything about Jerry being a painter that wasn't explored or cared about earlier in the film pays off entirely in that it's a movie about someone's impression of Paris. And we talked about why it's not an accurate impression of Paris, but it doesn't matter, because what we love about Paris is the art about it and the things that make us have this romantic vision of it. And then those paintings come to life.
I know.
In the most beautiful way. It is everything about the China Bowl sequence and Mary Poppins Returns that we love times a million.
Times a billion, yeah.
And they come... They physically come out of the paintings. They're in the paintings. They're wearing the paintings. It's so fantastic. And somehow I feel like the dance fits the paint, like the physical action of the dance fits the aesthetic of the painting that they are in. Like you can tell that they didn't say, let's make a dance and then like pick paintings to go with it. Like it feels like they decided, here's who we're referencing in the paintings that will be there. And then they used it to choreograph. And oh my God, this choreographer for being able to use just pictures done by famous Parisian artists, maybe even just French artists or whatever, and then to come up with this beautiful piece of movement to go with it. It's such a celebration of, again, like so aesthetic, so not like, it's not psychologically deep. It's not plot driven or anything like that. But
it's like the true definition of art for art's sake.
It really is art for art's sake. And there is something really beautiful and worthwhile about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It is. Oh my God. I could watch this every day for just this sequence every day for the rest of my life and like find something new and exciting about it. It's just like, because I'm so used to the Rodgers and Hammerstein's ballet style, which is like we're reiterating what the plot is through ballet, and this is not that. Like I was trying to be like, what's the one-to-one, and it's just expressive. It's just a guy in Paris experiencing art and this girl, and that's all the ballet is. And it was so when they revealed that fucking fountain, I screamed.
Yeah.
the thing, I don't know, what are they? What are they?
It's like smoke or something. Yeah.
Whatever they're using to impression the water of the fountain and the way that they use like smoke, like mist and smoke. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
And it's the most sensual dance sequence I think I've ever seen on film. It made me think about the fact that people in the 1950s in fact knew what sex was, but weren't allowed to put it on screen. And they found ways, like, that they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was, this is the physical chemistry thing that Adam was talking about. It's amazing. I mean, I'm also such a sucker for the whole thing because they're all impressionists and like post-impressionist painters. And that is my favorite period of art. I feel like I told you to go to the Musée d'Orsay. Like, didn't you visit Paris a few years ago or something?
Yeah.
It's my favorite genre of art, and that's my favorite museum in Paris because it's all that era and it's in an old train station and it's like everything you want Paris to be. So I'm so taken in by the aesthetics of the whole thing. But then I want to go back to what you were saying about like the Rodgers and Hammerstein revisiting the plot, because it's not revisiting the plot, and it's not it's also not driving the plot forward in a meaningful way, but it is connected to the plot, and that I think it is his fantasy of a future with her.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I think that's a much more interesting thing to do in a ballet, is to project a character's inner fantasies of the future, because the plot that's happened, that's one issue that I have with Roger and Hammerstein style ballets, is like, I don't need the story retold to me. I've been watching it. This is a more interesting thing to see of what does he think his life would be like with her. And a very real thing about like breaking up with somebody is like the thoughts about what would the future have been if you hadn't broken up. Right. And so I think that it's going back to the expressionist thing, like it's expressing an internal reality that, while the film is so insubstantial, does connect with you on a really real level.
And the fact that it starts with his sketch of like the Champs-Elysees, and then he finds the rose, and that's what, oh my God, it's good. The ballet is good. And it's different than when we watched, oh my God.
La La Land?
No. Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds.
Oh,
Singing in the Rain.
The Broadway ballet sequence in that is so, like, if you want to talk about something that's fully not connected to the plot, kind of in any way, like they just are like, and now a ballet. And they just do it.
It's in the universe. They're like filming a movie or whatever. They do a connection, but yeah, it's not.
And it's not even real. It's just like, here's an idea. What if we did this? And then they just show like the idea. Anyway, this at least, like, yes, obviously, like, is about kind of him seeing the future. But I just like the way the first sequence, the Doofy sequence, has the like sketched kind of backgrounds and everything's really flat and everyone is wearing like red, white, and blue, like the tricolor. I was like, I can't, this is like from the get-go. I was like, this is so good. And I'm so mad that it took an hour and a half to get to this.
I think we could do, we've talked before about like someone should go through some old movies and cut out just the air. I think that we could do an edit of American in Paris that's a tight hour, maybe.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And 17 minutes is just the ballet. Yeah.
And it's weird because there are 2 dream sequences in this movie. We didn't even really talk about the fact that Adam has the dream of his like performing his concerto. And I think it's cool that it's a dream. It's not a dream ballet. It's a dream like musical performance. Yeah. Orchestration. It's not obviously nearly as exciting as this, but that's also like a beautiful piece of music, and he's like really playing it, and it's really cool. Weirdly, as artistic as this movie is, it has nothing to say about the quality of art, and it's crazy. Like, it has no comment on being like, and that's why art. It doesn't even say like that's why art's good or that's why we make art. It's just like, and art exists, and there it is. It doesn't even say that really. It's just like
it's like a movie that's like, sometimes people fall in love, sometimes people make art. Those 2 things have nothing to do with each other.
Because the other thing is like a different movie would be like, oh, and then she became his muse, and that's how he created like the best painting ever. And it's not that either. Like, that's Across the Universe, famously, which we obviously watched.
Oh, we love
Strawberries.
Our best picture.
Our best picture winner. Yeah, I couldn't. I more was like impressed that I was like, I can't believe I got to this point in my life and I've never seen this ballet sequence, because just stripped alone, you don't need anything about the plot to appreciate this ballet. And it's so good that I was like, why aren't people just like showing this in movie theaters every like half hour? Like, what are we doing? Why is there not a dedicated spot like in Epcot where this just plays?
There should just be a moment in Musical Mondays where they just play this and everyone just goes quiet and just watches the screen for 17 minutes.
I mean, really, it is. I understand that this movie, I mean, talk about a movie that is not camp in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So I get why that's not played at Musical Mondays, but I also was like surprised that I've never seen any of these at Musical Mondays. That I was like, even the like, I think even the like, I Got Rhythm one, I was like, oh, you could do this Musical Mondays. But yeah, It is smart that this movie ends the way it does with this massive sequence, because that I can see someone leaving the theater in 1951 and maybe before they got to the ballet, they would have been like, oh, that was fine. But like after that, you're like, I mean, give it the damn Oscar.
Well, get the Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And having no way to like parse out. Was this movie actually good?
I mean, I think you would probably still love it in a way because the music is so good. Even though the plots are thin, I have to say, despite not caring at all about Jerry and Lise and whether they get together or whatever, Our Love Is Here to Stay, I think, is one of the greatest love songs ever written.
Oh,
So the fact that they have that in here, and it's much more to do with the music than it is the words. The words aren't anything remarkable, but there's something, I think it's also just like, for whatever reason, I don't know what the like childhood memory is that explains this, but like this kind of jazz music to me is like the purest expression of like true romantic love. And so I think it's like exactly the genre and era that I want out of a love song. And then it's Gershwin writing it, and like, it's just perfect. So I think that people would still appreciate it if it just were a Gershwin love story, because I think it's impossible not to feel something about the music. But without the ballet sequence, I mean, it remains a beloved film by many people. Obviously, it's not, it's not Singing in the Rain. It's not something that everybody knows or anything like that. But I do feel like it has kind of kept a place in the canon. And I think that without the ballet, it probably would have been forgotten over time.
On the list of 25 greatest movie musicals of all time by American Film Institute, 100 Years, 100 Movies.
Yeah.
This is number 9 in the greatest movie musical.
Okay.
And I think that list was done in like 2004 or something like that. It's an older list.
I mean, I'd have to know some of like what's right below it to know if like 9 exactly is the ranking, but it doesn't surprise me it's in the top 25. That seems like the right general place for it to be.
Okay. Well, RJ, do you have any? I'm just worried you didn't get to get your thoughts out there about the ballet.
I mean, what's there to be said? I'll just say like my favorite ones.
Yeah,
definitely is the like Moulin Rouge at the end.
Yeah,
the one where you talk about the face, but then it's just like the dance. I think it's because like my mind was thinking like, oh, this is going to be can, and I think like the choreography for the girls have can, but like the juxtaposition of his dancing, which is a lot more like jazzy and like,
when he wears that white outfit.
Yes, with the white outfit, I was like. It's just a full 2 hams.
Yeah,
like
2 ham hocks.
It was just. I thought that was really cool, and I think that was my favorite sequence. And then basically just like all the transitions of the twirling dresses was really cool with the mirrors.
Yes. Yeah. The Renoir sequence where they're at the like flower stands and there's just like the hundreds of bouquets of flowers all around them, and everyone's like frozen, and they just. I was like, I genuinely, it made me want to go back to Paris so bad. This movie did.
Yeah.
I wanted to go sit at a cafe and stare out at the street and watch people walk around.
Let's all go to Paris.
Let's go right.
Let's do a Showgays. Right, we'll do a Showgays episode in Paris, and then we can do it as a tax write-off or something. I don't know.
On the plane, we watched.
God, I love flowers. I'm such a sucker for flowers.
I know.
It's so basic, but I just love them.
No, it's so good.
Anyway, I realized as we're talking about beautifully aesthetic dance sequences, and I had scrolled up to the list of musical numbers that we entirely forgot to talk about I'll Build a Stairway to Paradise, which is a strong
early contender.
Early contender for
best Follies number.
And I was watching this and I just was thinking about how Follies numbers really are an homage to women's necks and their strength, because the hats that these women are wearing, the plumage, the weight that is added, it really is something. And it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous sequence.
Dancers were getting heat stroke and passing out. I mean, we love this kind of background tidbits in the way that, and you got to make the movie any way you can, even if people are passing out left and right. No, it's great. It's kind of like I don't want to say the worst part of the movie, but it's the part where it's like we're just stopping to watch.
We're just stopping.
Him perform.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's like probably the 5th most interesting lead in this movie. Of the 5.
I think he's still more interesting than Adam because he has an objection.
Oh, true. I just think I think Adam gets more comedy bits, which is why I liked Adam just a touch more.
Yeah.
Well,
that's one reason Go
The
ahead.
giant candelabras, though. My
Yes.
God.
And the women are just like sitting inside of them.
Right. That's one of the reasons that I love it as a Follies number is because when it starts, it's just Henri, and you're thinking like, am I really going to watch a whole number of just
Just a whole
Henri?
number of
And
a
then
man
you're
singing.
so delighted when the women start coming on stage and you realize it's not just going to be him, you know?
And there's
I
a
think that's
stairway.
really, yeah.
And
There's
the
a literal
stairway.
stairway.
And it
A
goes
literal
all the
stairway
way to
to
It
paradise.
goes to paradise, honey.
I'll build a stairway to paradise with a new step every day. I'm going to get there at any price. Stand aside, I'm on my way. I've got the blues, and up above it's all fair. Shoes gonna carry me there. I'll build a stairway to paradise with a new step every day.
Okay. So before I do the critics, I just want to say really quickly, because I didn't say it earlier, and since this is kind of the part of the critical reception of this film, I will say this film was nominated for 8 Oscars, and it won 6 of them. So it won Best Motion Picture, Best Director, Best Story and Screenplay. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It did not win Best Director. It did win Best Story and Screenplay. It won Best Art Direction for a color film. It won Best Cinematography for color, Best Costume Design color, and it won Best Scoring of a Musical Picture.
Okay, they should
and
give
then-
the story screenplay one back. That's just
Yeah.
unconscionable.
Trade that in.
And then they gave Gene Kelly an Academy Honorary Award for his contribution to art. I don't know.
Like a lifetime achievement kind of thing.
Kind of. They used to do this more in the early days, like the first 30, 40 years of the Oscars. This is like how when Walt made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, they gave him 7 statues, 7 mini Oscar statuettes, because
Bring back more bits to the Oscars.
he did the damn thing. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that because I didn't say it earlier. Okay. On Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a 95% rating. I got some primary sourced reviews.
Doing
So-
the work that I have become too lazy to do. We appreciate you, Adam.
So this isn't necessarily a review that's interesting per se, but I picked it because of its use of 1951 vocabulary. We don't even know who wrote this, because this is in the days where people would just be like, the Variety staff wrote this for Variety. Great. Gershwin's music gets boffo treatment throughout. I mean, we got to go back to boffo.
Is that
Back to
a
Boffo,
reference
a
to
return to
opera
Boffo.
buffo?
Huh?
Opera buffo is a comedic opera.
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know where. Maybe that was the origin.
I think buffo also was like a slang term in the mid-century, but buffo is like
It's a synonym for extremely successful, sensational.
Oh, okay. So different from, because buffo it's opera sera for serious topic and opera buffo for comedic.
While some
It
10
says it
songs
was originated in Variety. Like they used it.
Variety magazine.
They coined the term.
Yeah.
Wow.
in the 40s.
Wow. While some 10 songs get special handling, true Gershwin fans will recognize strains of most of his other tunes in the background score, with the ballet finale as well as the picture's innate color providing top production values. Producer Arthur Freed has wisely included only one other major production number, Gaytare's rendition of Stairway to Paradise, on a musical stage, complete with the femme line and lush sets and costuming, but the other tunes are each excellently projected. I just liked Boffo, honestly. This is from Bosley Crowther of the New York Times. He says, Mr. Kelly may skip about gaily, casting the favor of his smiles and the boon of the author's witticisms upon the whole of the Paris populace. People just had the thesaurus open. They just had it open while they were writing. Nina Folk may cut a svelte figure as a lady who wants to buy his love by buying his straight art student paintings. And Oscar Levant may mutter Riley as a pal. But the picture takes on its glow of magic when Miss Caron is on the screen. When she isn't, it bumps along slowly as a patched up conventional musical show. Why this should be is fairly obvious. Miss Karen is not a beauteous thing in the sense of classic features, but she has a sweet face and a most delightful smile. Furthermore, she has winsomeness, expression, and youthful dignity, and she can dance like a gossamer wood sprite on the edge of a petal at dawn.
Wow.
My God. My word.
My
When she and Mr. Kelly first meet in a Paris cafe, the previous routine of bonjour and voila and mais oui is forgotten. Candor and charm invade the picture under Vincent Minnelli's helpful hand. And when they dance on a quay, along the river, I don't know what that is, in Hush of a Paris Night to Our Love is Here to Stay, the romance opens and unrepressed magic evolves. Very fun. He very much liked her. He called her a wood sprite dancing on the edge of a pedal.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this is from the Los Angeles Times. This is written by Edwin Schallert. This is so primary source that this is not. This is a scan.
This is microfiche over here.
Honey. Okay. I'll just read like the beginning because I didn't even pick a spot really.
Okay.
I just was really trying to point out to Molly that I did the damn thing this time. Parisian
I gotta get
Season
library
4.
access again. I'm sorry.
Parisian glamour, albeit this may be studio synthetic, glows resplendently from the screen in An American in Paris, a top venture in song and dance, which had a dazzling premiere last night at the Egyptian Theatre. In presenting this picture themed by the music of George Gershwin, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer has succeeded in creating festivities that ideally suggest the mood of oncoming holidays and that won the acclaim of a star-bedecked first audience. An American in Paris assures enjoyment for the public as few pictures have done thus far this season. It is original, gay, and different. It has plenty of entertainment. It climaxes in a radiant artistic carnival that is indeed unique. It is, in a word, an accomplishment to satisfy practically all beholders, and especially those who consider a splendiferous film musical to be one of the best reasons for attending a theater.
I mean, splendiferous is a great word for it.
Yeah. But what do the regular people on Letterboxd think? Enough of these hacks in the New York Times, okay? Elle gave it 3 stars and said, "Who gave Gene Kelly the right to have all that ass?" And I'm gonna be honest, if you go through the Letterboxd reviews, I would say 55% of them are about his cake.
Wow.
It's pretty incredible.
People know what they want on that app.
Yeah. Emma also gave it 3 stars and said, "Imagine going to an audition for a musical and fucking Gene Kelly is also there auditioning." And Robin gave it 3 stars as well and said, "An American in Paris got all dressed up, put on its good dancing, its pretty sets, its great costumes, its lighthearted music, and then left the house without its plot." It's true. It's true.
Oh my God.
It's fitting that they got 3 stars, all 3 stars. It's a very, I would say that's apt.
It's a 3-star movie. It is a top 10 greatest movie musical of all time, but also a 3-star.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Somehow it is both. Yeah. And I think in a movie musical, there is something about it being like, I can forgive it because it's a musical. If it was like just a straight drama, I'd be like, no. What was this? This was not even worth mentioning or watching.
Yeah.
But because it's a musical, I'm like, well, it was pretty. Okay, I'm gonna go first. My MVP, I'm gonna take her. My MVP was Nina Folk as Milo.
Mm-hmm.
I liked her a lot. She had not a difficult character to play, but I liked her energy. I liked her dynamism. I liked kind of how it feels like she was had less of an affectation than other people in this movie. She kind of felt more grounded and lived in.
She's also she's the villain of the piece. You don't really love to hate her though, or actually hate her. She kind of walks this good line of you're kind of sympathetic to her while also not wanting her to win.
Yeah.
You
She's
also
like
kind of want to be
Baroness.
her too. There's something about it like, oh, I wish I had that kind of power to just.
Oh,
I mean,
handicapped man? Absolutely.
That's about us and the kind of people that we are, and not necessarily about the movie. But yeah.
RJ?
I'll pick Jean for this one. I really had to think about it. I'll pick Miss Jean Kelly, Norma Jean Kelly. I think
Jean Kelly, more like give me your jeans, Kelly.
Okay. Honestly, it's that opening scene of him getting his room together that I was like, oh, I get. Obviously, I always got it, but it was that moment of the minute details of him putting his tiny flat away. It's still so musical, and the little details of his steps and his just him moving around in the space. I was like, okay, I understand why people put up with everything, because he is really it's so crazy to watch someone so talented like that. So
Molly.
I'm going to give it to John Alton, who is the cinematographer of the ballet sequence.
wow.
But I'm also realizing we haven't talked about the choreographer
Oh, it's Gene.
of the whole ballet sequence.
I believe so. Yeah. I saw him credited as the choreographer.
Let me double check before I continue with my MVP. I'm not finding it quickly, so we'll say that that's true, and we'll write in the show notes if we find out that that's false. So I'm going to give it to John Alton. Just whoever had the artistic vision to like put together the whole ballet sequence, the way that the music and the costumes and the dance all work together is just remarkable, and that is clearly the MVP sequence of the scene. So the people who are behind it are the MVPs of the film.
Absolutely. What's your closer?
My closer is, I really thought about this time. Okay. We are doing a 2023 gender swapped American in Paris remake from the perspective of a young American paintress who is torn between a young dancer and an older man of means who wants to support her painting career. Pitch your cast for the main three. So our lead is a woman who's an American that's in Paris, and she's going to meet a young French dancer, and then an older gentleman who will support her in her career, and she has to pick between the two. I do, because I actually thought about the closer ahead of time for the first time ever in my life. I do have an answer for this if you would like me to go first.
Yes, please.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So my obvious choice for the paintress is Miss Ariana DeBose.
Mhm.
In fact, the reason that my first thought for a closer was we should do an American in, pick a different city. And then I was like, and then who should star in it? And I thought Ariana DeBose. And then I thought, no, this is more interesting to talk about casting her than it is to talk about a city. So she would be perfect in the dancing and singing and all of the things. And I think would bring the sort of youthful energy that Gene Kelly was able to bring despite his advanced years in this role. For the older gentleman, I mean, obviously it would be great to cast real French people, but I don't know enough French actors, so I'm going to just cast people that I know. The older gentleman, I'm going to go for one Mr. Jake Gyllenhaal. And I think, and now part of that might be that he is one of my prime celebrity crushes. But also, you know, he's had a complicated relationship with the culture ever since Taylor Swift released All Too Well 10-minute version. And we all need him to give her back her scarf. And I think that his reputation as a man who dates younger women would sort of complicate our feeling about the character in a way that would sort of work with the film. And then I was torn on the young dancer because part of me thinks it's got to be Timothée, obviously, the Frenchness and the famous YouTube film of him dancing in the recital as a teenager.
Oh,
but
yes.
I don't like Timothée Chalamet is the thing. I don't root for him in films, and I apologize to the twink lovers out there. But there's something about how good he was at being a total asshole in Lady Bird that just shaped my whole sort of opinion of him, that it would be hard for me to root for him as a sincere romantic, a complicated romantic lead. Absolutely. Loved him in Little Women. That worked for me. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
But as just a ingenue, unproblematic, I don't think I can see him that way. So despite the French connection making a lot of sense for Timothée, I'm going to go with Mr. Tom Holland for
a dancer.
A dancer. The umbrella sequence from Lip Sync Battle we're all familiar with. So I
Billy
think
Elliot.
that we probably talked about that before and I just didn't remember. So yes, I think that I would love to see a love triangle between Ariana DeBose, Tom Holland, and Jake Gyllenhaal. That would be right up my alley.
I mean, I think even if it wasn't gender bent, if they did do this again in 2023, Tom Holland would be a great Jerry.
Yeah.
I think could be fun.
I'm kind of pulling from Gene Kelly in the young dancer character because also like Lise doesn't have a personality or career or passion in any way. And so I wasn't quite sure what to do for that character. So I was kind of pulling from just the fact that she dances / kind of changing up the who Gene Kelly is part.
RJ, do you have one?
Yeah, I kind of do like off the cuff. I think it's hard because I don't know these young girls, but I do know it would be interesting to do like Chloe and Halle. if they could do like maybe, I don't know, like a duo storyline, like if they wrote there are two Americans
Well, maybe one of them is Adam.
Oh yeah.
I
We
mean,
actually
rewrite
gave Adam a
Adam's
storyline.
character.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I worked pretty hard to make this love triangle thing work, and now you're just gonna introduce a fourth character. So okay, but
make it a clean two couples. So I would say I would do like Chloe or Halle. I have not seen Little Mermaid, but I've seen them like perform, and I really like them, and they have very like great presence.
Mhm.
So I think like either of them would be a good fit for the two men. Jake's definitely a good one.
It's funny because Jake Gyllenhaal was in that. He was in that Spider-Man movie.
was he? I haven't actually seen any of the Spider-Man.
He was the
Let
guy
me
with
go.
Oh,
the
yes, he
globe
was-
on his head.
Yeah.
He was, in
He was
second
the
one.
latest. He was the second late.
The
one
latest
before.
villain.
Yeah. I'm trying to like hit like recent actors. There was a moment where I was thinking about for the dancer, like it could be like a Simu Liu, but I think there's a little bit of like, I think people are a little tired of it, but it would be fun to do like a Simu Liu, maybe even like a Harry no, not Harry Shroom.
Harry Styles.
No,
Are you talking about the guy from Glee?
That's Harry Shroom. I'm thinking of Crazy Rich Asians. What's his name?
Henry Gold?
Henry Golding.
Henry Golding.
He's so handsome.
Yeah, I like something about that I think could be interesting. And then as for like the older, more refined gentleman, if this was a 90s version, it's Victor Garber, baby, but it's not. Like that was the first one that I thought of. Like Victor Garber would be a great like
Yeah.
Henri type character. Callahan, yeah. But for 2023,
But he's not playing Henri. He's playing Milo.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I do, because of the gender swapping and like, I think it's kind of a combination of Milo and Henri in my mind. So I
Right,
think you can
right.
go with either energy. And I think it would be a more interesting
You know what could
movie to, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I think it'd be more interesting if it was like a real, like there were genuinely good things about both options rather than
Right.
like for both Milo and Henri, it feels very like, I really don't care about this person. And it would be a more fun movie for her to be like the young, ambitious man versus like the established man. And like both of them treat me well and have benefits.
Yes.
Would be more
And
fun.
and like could still be like very, like he's still like super handsome. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like too viable and attracted to both. And
Right.
like, maybe like a Pedro Pascal. Why not?
Ooh,
Could be fun.
that's nice.
Could be fun to see him like cleaned up,
Mhm.
you know, and just like fully like, oh, I know my worth. I make money, but I also appreciate the beauty in art. That's why I'm here in
Yeah.
Paris.
And I would buy him very much as like the kind of rich guy that would be really into art. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
like he would
totally.
clean up, but he's always going to have that kind of energy to him where I'd be like, oh yeah, he would be like, I like you because you're an artist. And that's very appealing to me, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Because my brain is like rotted from K-pop, the first thing I did think about was like, there are 3 members in BTS that you could easily cast as 3. Because their leader RM is like he's an art, like he goes to museums, he buys artwork like to put in his home.
And he's
so like could
27.
easily-
So he's the older man or like, what's that? Aren't they
Yeah.
all pretty young? Okay.
he's like 30. I think he's just
Who?
30, right? 31. Namjoon?
No. He's 94. So he's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
turn 30 next year.
And then Jungkook, who's the youngest, would be like the young dancer.
Arjun,
Okay.
I'm on a website called thefamouspeople.com because I'm just looking at actors in
Who
their
are
20s.
famous celebrities right now?
I'm just looking at actors who are in their 20s, and truly, I know so few of these people. So
Wow.
few. It's shocking. But I did go.
Yeah, because in
by-
my mind, I was like, oh yeah, Emma Stone. I'm like, Emma Stone is not
yeah.
like
I
Anna
mean, we
Kendrick.
could-
They're not.
We can
Yeah.
we can age up the young people to make it a 2023 version.
RJ,
Right.
number 31 on this list is Chanu.
Wow. A K drama actor.
A K-drama actor.
Crazy.
Okay, I have mine.
Okay.
This is so funny. This list has multiple K-pop people on it. It's very funny. Okay. Okay, so for my girl, it's Dove Cameron.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm trying to think of like who has that Jerry energy
Mhm.
of like
Yes.
confident, just went to
Not in
like a
like
girl
a-
who just went to Paris and wanted to be a painter.
Yeah, not even in like an Emily in Paris like energy,
No,
right?
I
Like
did
there
think
is
of
a
that 'cause that'd be
confidence.
funny, but
There's like a confidence, but also like if we're doing this in American and like it's a happy Paris too. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Then I want to keep Lise, the Lise equivalent to a younger energy. And technically
Mhm.
this person's the same age, but I'm picking Noah Centineo
Wow.
from
Yeah.
the To All the Boys trilogy.
Mhm.
Because he just has that like smile. You know what I'm saying? It's just that
Mhm.
like
That gets,
winsome
like-
energy. Youthful.
yeah.
And then for my older character, my Milo, my Venus de, this one is harder. Okay. I want to make it a clear this is not the direction you should go.
Okay.
I want the audience to be telegraphed
This
simply
is a
by the
bad
casting.
choice that Adam's about to.
And we're gonna
Gotcha. It's a bad choice in the plot of the movie. I thought you were saying like this is a bad thing I'm going to say, but
I'm
this
picking
is
Johnny
bad.
Depp. No. No.
God.
No, I'm picking Chris Pratt. So it's like he'll do the
Okay.
job and people will be
Yeah.
like, oh, but she shouldn't end up with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People will be
yeah.
rooting against him.
Because
He
Tell me more.
sucks.
because we know that he sucks as a real person, or he's going to
Mhm.
play the character. Okay, gotcha.
Both.
I didn't know if you were saying like he would play the character in like an Andy type of way from Parks and Rec, where
No.
okay,
No, he'd do his like now he doesn't really act anymore. He just kind of does like douchebag energy. That's kind of every character he's ever been
Yeah,
since Andy. So
or he just is a voice.
yeah. Or he's just a voice, or he's just Mario, or he's just Garfield.
Yeah,
He's just talking. So I'd pick him for my Milo.
interesting. Yeah, very different vibes.
I think it'd be fun.
I agree.
And I
How can we make this movie?
I really want. Oh, I guess Milo is. I get. You know what? Noah Centineo. I bet he's got a French accent in him. I bet he could do it. I have no doubt.
Sure.
Yeah. Look, they could all be Americans in Paris. Who cares?
Now, what
Americans in
I thought
Paris.
you were gonna do was you were gonna do a Parisian in America, and so it was gonna be like
Oh.
swaps the opposite way.
Right. But then I would be like, pick 3 French actors to be in a movie because we all know so many French actors to pull from.
Yeah,
Marion Cotillard.
Marion Cotillard, Catherine Deneuve,
Catherine
like
Deneuve.
varying generations.
Jean Dujardin,
Vincent Cassel.
Amélie, just a character. Matilda. There's another one.
Matilda, yes,
No,
Miss
wait,
Clavel, the
Not
nun.
Matilda. Wait,
Mathilde.
Madeline.
the fact that me and RJ knew, he knew who I meant. Miss Cleo. Yeah.
Miss Clavel. Yeah.
Miss Clavel. Yeah. Okay.
All right. It's wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's marvelous. You should care for me. Bye. Thank you for listening to the best revival of a podcast, Showgays. You can find us on social media. Adam is at Adam Noecker on Twitter. RJ is at RJ Food Rocks on Instagram. And Molly is at Molly Matiny on Instagram. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find our show page and more information at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email and we might read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgaysmoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we're going to be watching next episode.
New from Orion Home Video.
Why is Mary marrying this terrible old Barnaby instead of his friend?
Because Barnaby bought the mortgage on her mother's house and said he'd throw them all out in the street if she didn't.
There's trouble in Toyland.
Dear friends and neighbors, as justice of the peace of Toyland, it falls within my power to join this handsome couple. Well, anyway, this couple in matrimony.
The wicked Barnaby Barnacle wants the beautiful Mary Contrary to be his bride.
Barnaby Barnacle, do you take Mary here to be your bride, to have and protect as long as you both shall live?
I do. I absolutely, yes, I do.
In that case...
She doesn't love him. She loves Jack. And she really shouldn't be marrying you.
If he doesn't get his way, he'll turn Toyland into a world without toys.
I mean, we're talking serious villain here.
So it's up to Jack Nimble.
I think what you really want is to destroy Toyland.
On the contrary, I plan to own it.
His brave Toyland friends.
Come on, Jordan.
The wise old toy master.
Don't you realize you can never conquer Toyland?
And a little girl from Cincinnati.
Cincy Watsky.
To drive the villainous Barnaby and his loyal legion of tacky trolls out of Toyland.
I will be master of Toyland.
You're the monster of Toyland, Barnaby.
Babes in Toyland.
For a town, it looks like so much fun. This is pretty strange stuff.
E.T. star Drew Barrymore headlines an all-star cast that includes Keanu Reeves, star of the summer smash Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure.
Everybody loves him.
The Karate Kid's Pat Morita.
Cut the monsters off the end of Hopscotch Lane!
And Empty Nest's Richard Mulligan.
1 week from today, and everything will be mine.
Discovering voices, building worlds. The Ampliverse.